Good morning, YouTube. This is Kelsey from Kels Reads Things, also known as Librarians Recommend on my YouTube channel. I hope you all are having a fantastic Friday. I myself am having a very good Friday because I get to discuss with you one of my favorite topics today, books. Today I will be discussing Crown of Midnight, the second book in the Throne of Glass series by Sarah J. Maas. Now, if you have not read the first book, you cannot go to this next one. Sometimes in books you can switch between the different titles, but I highly recommend reading the first one. Now, if you don't know much about the series, let me give you just a quick synopsis. Throne of Glass is about a woman named Celaena Sardathian, who is a trained assassin who has been called upon by the king of Adarlan, I think is how you pronounce that continent, to compete in a contest against 23 other assassins to win the title of the King's Champion. And basically, once you become the King's Champion, you will be directed to take down anyone the King sees fit. So I won't give too much away about that, but today I am going to be discussing the second book in the Throne of Glass series, Crown of Midnight, and this is by Sarah J. Maas. Alrighty, I gave Crown of Midnight a 4.5 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed the story. It was fast-paced, suspense, adventure, and of course a little bit of romance sparkled in. Let me give you just a little bit of background information about the book. The plot is that Celaena Sardathian won the King of Adarlan's contest in the Throne of Glass series and is now his official champion. Hunting down traitors of the crown with each name she's given, but having been trained as the greatest assassin in the Assassin's Keep on the continent of Aralee, Celaena has plans and enemies of her own to deal with. Uncertain of who she can trust, who is a friend or an enemy, we discover the true past of Celaena in this new edition of the Throne of Glass series, Crown of Midnight. Can she even trust herself? Who else is seeking justice from the tyrant king? And can our own hero trust them? How can the King of Adarlan have been so immensely powerful and taken over so many kingdoms in Aralee? Our talented assassin will soon find out by reading Crown of Midnight by Sarah J. Maas. Okay, that was just a little bit of background information about the book. Basically, Celaena has been selected as the King's Champion, and he is now giving her individual names to track down and kill in the name of the King. However, Celaena has plans, agendas, and motives of her own throughout the book, and it's very interesting, all the twists and turns that you go through in this series. I was very, very impressed with the second book. Thus far, it's my favorite of the 3 that I've read. Now, I say 3 because Assassin's Blade is the prequel to the Throne of Glass series. Some would recommend that you read the prequel about 3 books into the Throne of Glass series, one after you read Heir of Fire. That's the 3rd installment. However, I myself read the prequel first, and I actually am glad that I did because it gave me a whole lot of background information about Celaena that I knew and wouldn't have known otherwise in book 1, and I think it actually helped me root for her character more because we learn more about her personality and the things that she's been through that are just kind of mentioned and touched on lightly in the rest of the book 1. So I would recommend you read Assassin's Keep first. That's just my take if you like to have a lot of background information on characters and their own experiences, their own traumas, triumphs, what have you. Some things that I really loved about this second installment, Crown of Midnight, was the fact that the characters were really diverse. Celaena remained this strong, feminine, amazing assassin. I mean, you can't get much better than a girl who loves to go shopping and spend time with her friends and also is just an incredible character who is strong and can kind of hold her own in just about any fight. So that was really interesting, but all the characters were diverse and they all had their own strengths, their own motives, and their own agendas, and that's what really helped me keep my attention throughout the entire series. Selena actually becomes stronger due to some experience she has during this series. The pacing was very fast. I rarely got bored while reading the book, so that's something that's important to me, especially if I'm reading a series that's a little more action based. I tend to gravitate towards books that are more about like character development and relationships. However, I have been branching out and I've come to learn that I really enjoy adventure fantasy as well. So, great job, Sarah J. Maas, for keeping my attention, and thank you. Um, Something I really enjoyed was that the third person perspective of the book switched not just to Selena but also to Kaol, who is the captain of the King's Guard, and also to Dorian, who is the king's first son. He is the prince of Aderlin. I really hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. So I'm sure one of my followers will let me know if I'm not. But they were all really interesting and really different people, and it was really enlightening to be able to follow each person's, thoughts and their perspectives. And I actually enjoyed the switching of narratives. So great job on that, Sarah J. Maas. Excellent job. And another thing that I really enjoyed was that I was on the edge of my seat almost the entire book. You just didn't know what was going to happen next. You didn't know who you could trust or who Selena could trust or if she could even trust herself. And that is just so fascinating to me. It really kept the story flowing and it kept me interested. There were only a couple things that I did not like, and it was that there was a lot of information at one point to keep up with. Different continents, people that ruled these continents. So I would highly recommend, before you actually really dive into the series, they each have a map at the front of the series. So this is the map for Sarah J. Maas and where this takes place, the setting. So I would kind of look at that and get an idea. Like, for instance, the prison where Selena stayed in is up here in this area. And where she's staying now, at this point in the book, is in Ardalan, whatever it's called. But that's where she is. And it kind of just helped me be able to keep up with who was who were enemies, who were, which countries was the king trying to conquer. And a really big question is, how is the king this all-powerful? How has he managed to take over so many different countries in this one continent? And that's something that Selena is trying to figure out, and eventually does figure out, and is trying to ensure that ceases. She wants to stop him because he's an evil tyrant king. The only other thing that I didn't necessarily like was that some of the romance I felt like was really abrupt. Now, it does build a little bit definitely in Throne of Glass, but there is a love triangle between Dorian, Selena, and Kaol, so that's something that you should know. There is a little bit of love triangle, nothing too dramatic though, so that's nice because I prefer things to be a little more subtle myself. But again, overall, I gave Crown of Midnight a 4.5 out of 5 stars. I thought the pacing was great, the action was great, the characters were really well developed in this book, and I just found myself really loving Selena even more. Alrighty guys, well that's all I have today for Crown of Midnight. However, I will be reading the third installment, Heir of Fire, within the next couple of weeks. I likely won't do a video about it until not this coming Friday, but likely the following Friday, because it is a huge novel. It's 500 pages plus. Plus I also have to read Would Like to Meet. Now luckily this book is a little bit smaller and it's a romance comedy, which I tend to just tear through. So hopefully I'll get through that relatively quickly and I'll be able to talk to you about it next Friday. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Click subscribe to learn more about what librarians recommend at Anna Porter Public Library. Thank you for watching. Have a wonderful Friday.